Welcome one, welcome all to the Seaview Hotel. Please ignore Mr. Nesthead over there and enjoy this night with this video featuring the bloody events from this hotel. Sure, it might not be the best way to win back customers, but I had to find some way to transition to this video. Welcome to Act Dead of Night. In this game, book into a hotel that is totally not haunted by the spirits the owner slaughtered there. Don't worry, Jimmy, that's not the sound of ghosts. That's just the sound of angry customers upset that you're hiding in the storage room instead of doing your job. Just do it, man. Your character is named Maya, whose friend Hannah is staying at the hotel, so of course you go too. Of course, this hotel has no signal because horror game has to horror game. Hannah tries to give you some sort of warning, but the line cuts off. Should I make a horror movie cliche counter? Nah, too lazy. Surprisingly, this hotel has 3 stars despite being the site for multiple murders. We meet Jimmy, the creepy owner of the place who just doesn't understand the youth. Like, seriously dude, no one has used MySpace in at least a decade. Get with the time, man. He also does comedy. He has this character known as Hugo Punch who just knocks people out around the end of the room. Turns out Hugo isn't just a character. He's Jimmy's alter, who just hates when people don't like his edgy jokes that are so funny because they're edgy. Basically, we're fighting a middle schooler.
Bad eggs need cracking, whack 'em hard and crack the shell, kick 'em down the stairs to hell. You know what you need to do, Jimmy. Show them who's boss. That's the way to do it.
Speaking of eggs, which bird laid one on your head? After hearing screams in the dead of night, you wake up to find Jimmy knocking out your friend. Don't worry, Maya, he's just making sure they have a good rest. Rest is important, you know? Turns out you left your key in your room and can't open the door anymore. Don't know what the plan would be if you could open the door? That phone's not going to work. Of course, Maya heads down to the elevator and tries to call on the phone at the front desk, which obviously doesn't work, because if it did, this would be a 6-minute long short horror film where Hugo pops up behind you at the end and kills you before the police come and somehow no evidence is found. Maya finds the master key and hears the spirits of Jimmy's victims who tell her to leave but then tells her to stay around and learn the full story. Make up your mind, spirits. So that's the setup. Now you just go around the hotel and speak with ghosts to understand what happened here while also avoiding Jimmy, who's hiding in areas ready to jump scare you at any moment with his bat instead of the fist he's named after. To avoid Jimmy, you can hide in other rooms or call out to him to lure him to an area and then leave that area. If you want to see the complete, unedited, uncommentated version of this video, there'll be a link in the description below to the playlist of this game on my second channel, which will have all my unedited gameplay there so you can see all my mistakes. Once you watch the opening cutscene tutorial, you can get right into playing. To start off, you should familiarize yourself with floor 1, 2, and 3, since Jimmy will not activate until you see the first ghost, which you will only see in the basement. So check every room for items so you don't have to later. It will take a long time. Exploring the first floor alone took me 13 minutes, so all 3 might take a good 39 minutes, but it will be worth it. If you don't want to explore every room and want to wait until you actually need the items, then explore until you get the scrying mirror and the compass. These items are important. The scrying mirror is going to tell you what floor ghosts are on and what rooms items can be found in. And the compass is going to tell you in what area on that floor the ghost is at. Another thing you end up finding by checking every room is the locations that your friends are in. You see, they're all locked in rooms and you can't unlock them at the moment. The only way you can see them is through the keyholes. This will be important for the end of the game. Well, now that you got your scrying mirror and compass, now it's time to find your first ghost. Head straight down to the basement and you'll start to hear crying. But nothing's in the basement, so you'll leave, only to see... the classic turn to see a spooky thing that wasn't there before. In this case, the spooky thing's a little girl sitting in the elevator door. Speaking with this girl, you'll know that her name is Amy Bell, a 10-year-old girl that was locked in the basement by Jimmy, who was stealing her stuff, like her purse and her teddy bear. During these times where you're talking to the ghost, you can ask them about any event or item you find. If an event and item seem to match, you can match the two together, and if you're right, it will unlock the next event and show you what floor that event will be on. In this case, the ground floor. Continuing on with Amy's story, you'll learn that Jimmy actually burned Amy's teddy bear, which Amy was holding, causing her to be burnt. You'll also get visions of another ghost on the second floor, but we'll cover that later. Amy wanted a doctor to help her hand, but Jimmy threatened against it, promising to help her. Before I can go any further, Jimmy finally appears. You don't see him, you just hear him. In fact, you don't want to see him, because if you see him, there's a likely chance he sees you. This means, for the most part, you have to avoid Jimmy using sound alone to figure out where he is. This is when the game gets scary, having to go from room to room, floor to floor, all the while avoiding Jimmy, who's yelling your name in the distance. Speaking of Jimmy, it turns out he gave Amy some whiskey, claiming it to be medicine for her burnt hand. The whiskey made Amy a little tipsy, so she tried to jump from the top of the stairs to the bottom, thinking she would fall like a feather since she felt light. This, of course, isn't how things work, and just like that, Amy's story was completed.